G'day punters, welcome back to our rapid fire preview show for Randwick this Saturday. We've got Jason as a party who's going to lend some of his brilliance to the rest of the cast here, and John Walter from racingwatch.com.au. G'day boys.
Hey.
Fine and sunny, good for on Saturday.
Well, track-wise, I mean, we've got obviously had a lot of rain, and we're potentially looking at another inch to 2 inches, I believe, at Randwick over the next couple of days, and no real chance for a let-up there. So genuine testing track Saturday, currently rated heavy 10, so I suspect it'll be worse than the 26th of February, and getting close to that really genuine heavy testing range. And we've also got potentially some wind for Saturday. South-south westerlies ranging from around about 40 kilometres at noon, sort of dropping maybe to the low 30s during the afternoon. And if that happens, that's just basically a tailwind in the straight. So in those shoot races, being closer to the inside might help, but you don't want to be on the inside, in the home straight. I think, John, we've talked about this before, but probably 7 off, 6, 7, 8 off is probably going to be the full trail.
It makes it hard to sort of slingshot from the rail through, so probably 7 or 8 is about as far as they can get off, isn't it? So it'll be similar to the way Newcastle probably played on, what day was it, Monday or Tuesday? Monday. Where they'll just beeline for the middle of the track, won't they?
Yeah, and of course, Douay did the right thing for us all and was very well backed. And what else happened there? I don't think much else happened, did it?
Spanish Mission missed a place.
Spanish Mission missed the place, as Jason forecast, and
Ran last.
Well, it started
last.
72.
Ran last. Can't go a yard on the wet. It was embarrassing they ran it.
It was heavily back too, wasn't it?
It was. They just kept coming for it. Yeah, strange.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start off with the chairmans, the 2600 race 4. John, what's our market?
Share screen. Here we go. Chalk Stream, $4. Zayrek, $7. Stockman, $8. $9. Great House, $10. LaBelle. She's Ideal, 10. Knight's Order, 11. Luncey's 14. Surprise Baby, 16. 25 to 1. The rest. Big tail.
Jason, we might go to you first. What do you think about this race?
I mean, it was a weird run, that Zayrek race last start. On the turn, you swear it's going to win, and then it went past the favourite here, which is Chalk Stream, and then just seemed to die on its run. So I don't know if that was just it was a run short, or 24 on a testing track sees it out. Through its Metrop run, etc. It's certainly looks a 2,500 metre horse, but we might be going for a 3,000 metre horse here. So, look, I think, on these really wet tracks, I don't really want to take short odds on much. So I'm always looking for contrarian viewpoints to the market. I've got Stockman not running here. I'm almost certainly going to scratch it. I heard a interview with Joe Pride this morning, so I'm just completely ruling that out of the race. I can't have Zayrek because of, I think it's a doubt at the trip. I just thought Great House brings the best form into the race. I'd rather go to that other line, which is the Stockman Mount Popper Sky High race, rather than the that Zayrek race, or the No Compromise race, for probably what it's been known as on Twitter. Look, it was a great run in the Caulfield Cup, albeit it was on the minimum there at 50, and then in that Hotham on Derby Day, I just thought he just won like a very, very good horse. What did it beat? Mankayan, which would be a decent price here. So you could argue that. I just thought at the price, I think it'll handle the wet. I acknowledge that 57.5 is not ideal here on such a wet track, but I just thought at $9 I was happy to have a spec on it with not a huge amount of confidence.
Did you see, I just was reading that Andrew Hawkins, who's the Highclere bloke, he put up a tweet the other day. He's wondering why Highclere not running Great House. He's been scratched from the Tancred due to scoping with mucus. Will be entered for Chairman's Handicap, but may instead head to Brisbane rather than rushing to make the Sydney Cup.
Okay, I didn't know that. Didn't know about that setback. So I thought it was just the wet, but okay.
Yeah, so obviously I doubt they'd run it, but it's not ideal, is it?
No.
Either way.
John, what do you think?
I agree completely. Like I couldn't back Zarek to beat Chalkstream on that run the other day, just because Chalkstream had the tougher run and probably has more upside than Zarek going up in distance. He's going off to play the piano, and so if those two, I thought Knight's Order still had upside, and it could bowl along in front and may give them something to chase again away from the favourites. But Chalkstream's pretty obvious and short. I don't want to chime into $4 in this race, same as Jason, and Little Surprise Baby's probably the one that can improve. It stayed away from these testing tracks, maybe up in distance, and with the sting out and fresh legs, it could surprise at big odds, but was pretty plain as well in that Australian Cup.
Okay, so for me, I've got Chalkstream favourite. I don't think there's any sort of edge in the price. I do agree with you, John, that Knight's Order will get a soft lead or soft enough lead here, and could certainly give them a sight and be in this race for a long way, and definitely represents some value at the moment. Look, for me, I keep coming back to this Le Bowl as a horse that could really run a race, especially if it runs up to that Randwick run on the, genuine slow, almost heavy 2 starts back behind Surefire. It did look like it might have come to the end of its run at the 2000, but I mean, look, this horse has only had 3 runs back. The stable obviously is very, very good. It has won over 2,400 overseas. The only thing in my mind is a slight distance query, but I think at 10 to 1, it represents value. So I think Le Bowl and Knight's Order are definitely value bets for me. I think Zarek's under the odds. I think it's better suited in this race perhaps than last time, but still under the odds. Great House, I can't get it as short as the market, but I do consider it some hope if it was to run to form. And I thought the roughies in the race, Surprise Baby and Alakan. So it's not certainly not a cut and dried effort this. The ones I was against, if Stockman were to run, I'd be against it. And if She's Ideal, well, I expect it to run. I think that 8 to 1 currently, around about that.
Similar, price. Yeah, something not to $10, yeah.
9 to 1, I think it's under the odds. So for me, I'll be playing or looking to play around Le Bowl, Knight's Order, and potentially something small on Surprise Baby or Alakan. And look, if Chalkstream did get out to a much better price, obviously I'd be wanting to sort of include it. So for me, it's more of a race where I'm just sort of making a book around what I see as the weakness in the race.
Some great insight there from you guys. Against Zarek, Stockman, and Great House and She's Ideal, you can really build a book, especially around the bow. I know Kieran does really like her as a Sydney Cup horse. So
looks like it'll keep coming. Like that's it. The fitness probably gave out early in the prep, but it does look like a horse that'll just keep coming.
Yeah, well, I think it probably has just needed the racing, but other than that, there is just in the back of my mind that slight distance start, but it represents the best value, followed by Knight's Order for mine and those other couple of ones we've mentioned. So let's move on to the Sires Produce.
Sires Produce, the Mighty Fireburn, $2.25, Dormier $8.50. Sorry, She's Extreme $8.50. Show Court, the interesting runner $8.50. $12. Let's Roll the Dice, the Mexican, $14 Magic, $16 Count the Headlights, $21 Charlatan, $21 Warby, $26 Man in the Mirror, $31 Brosnan, $101 Wealthy Investor.
John, we might go to you start.
Yeah, so it's interesting now that it's sort of looking back on Fireburn's form, that race that we've talked about a bit now, where the weather was horrendous and the time was horrific. It sort of turned out one of the stronger 2-year-old races at the carnival. And it all makes sense now after watching what she did in the Golden Slipper. I think it's impossible to back anything that comes out of the Slipper to beat her. So any horse like Dormier would have to, need a miracle to turn the tables. But I think I'm very interested in this horse, Show Court. I didn't love its trial since. It hit the line okay, but it probably didn't travel as strongly as I'd like to see. But I think it's the interesting horse. But other than that, I think Fireburn sort of got the measure of them. The horses from Melbourne, if you run a line through, is it Bez Marty or that was not beaten too far there? I think these horses have got a big task ahead of them, and it would have to go back a lot, backwards a lot, Fireburn to be beaten by anyone but Show Court. And Warby's an interesting horse too, just at big odds that can improve. Thought its run was really good in the Black Opal, its first start against the bias, which was sort of heavily fence leader bias that day and came from last, only having its first start in a race.
Jason?
Yeah, I think, Firebird's a justified favourite. Could blow them away. Do you want to back it? Probably not. I thought if you could forgive She's Extreme, she did keep coming in the straight. She was never going to win. She was on a 7-day backer. Maybe that didn't suit her. A bit fresher here. No, she handles a heavy. Only beaten 0.75 lengths by Fireburn at her second start. You could maybe have a case for her out of that Melbourne race. I actually thought Brosnan was the better run in that race. The way to roll the dice one, and it ran first up on a heavy 10 on that 26 to Fed day, so he gets through it. But yeah, I think Fireburn on top. And only other things I could see winning were She's Extreme and Brosnan. Keen to know what you guys think about Magic, because it was favourite for this race after its first start. The little bit disappointing at its second run, but could be peaking here. Keen to know your thoughts on this.
Okay, so Melbourne horses I give almost no chance to. Magic, I've got it marked triple figures.
Triple figures?
That's what I think about it.
Okay.
I'm close to that too. Half triple figures, but still aggressive.
And I think the favourite's a genuine odds-on chance and will win.
Yeah.
There's only one horse that I could see could trouble it, and that's She's Extreme, who I also think might be suited by the 1400. If you forgive that last run, which you obviously have to, then it's some sort of chance in the race. But I'd find it very difficult to suggest that you even save on it at sort of 7 to 1. It would have to sort of get out to sort of that 9, 10 to 1 mark for me to consider saving on it. But other than that, it's a good bet on Fireburn.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be odds on. And do you think it starts odds on, or do you think it starts in the black Fireburn?
Oh, look, I think there's might be still some resistance out of that form, because it did start, 14 to 1, I think it was, 11 to 1 SP in a normalised or 100-eyes market. That was more like 14s, and it was about $19 on the fair. So there still might be a little bit of resistance just because of that, because perhaps those races weren't as highly valued because they were poor times or coming off very poor times on the 26th of Feb. But then we saw She's Extreme come out heavily backed on the totes and win prior to the slipper. So, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, for me, I think it's a genuine odds-on chance, and I'll be having a very good bet on it.
You wouldn't be surprised to see it start $1.70.
No, you wouldn't be surprised, no. But there could be resistance. I mean, look, they bet $6, I think, a week or so ago, didn't they? Or a couple of weeks ago after the slipper. And then I think it was into about 15 to 4, 7 to 2, and there's been money for it in the futures bets because it did look like a logical play. And we all know, well, Jason, you and I know one person that certainly backed it. And
yes, he told me the other day.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I'm hoping they move the meeting to like Rockhampton over a mile or something. Really, I'm hoping they really just change it right up for the all-in punters.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit nasty. But anyway, look, I mean, just because they're odds-on chances doesn't make them win. But I think it still represents tremendous value. So let's move on to the Derby, race 7. But before we do, John, let's talk about.
Hang on. Talk about our friends first.
Our good friends. No, that's not the one. Good friends.
This one.
Top Sport. Tomorrow, of course, we've got some major Group 1, so I'm expecting that you're going to be at least to win 10 to 25 late or 20 to 50 late. Of course, you've got best to best options. These minimums do apply, of course, from the moment the markets go up. So if you don't have a Top Sport account already, punters, make sure you get one. They'll always give you a fair bet.
Sounds good. That's
okay. So let's move on to the Derby.
The Derby, probably the most interesting horse of the day, is it? Haitotsu 370, Regal Line 550, 750 Forgot You, $11 character, 15 Benno, 16 Allegron, 17 Castlereagh Kid, 21 Can't Go Wong, 21 War Eternal, 31 El Manzi. There are some interesting horses down the bottom here. Morris's Milad 40, Zoom on 50s, and Clyde at $81, but very long tail again. Yeah,
okay, John, you might go first here.
Mate, I'm going again.
You declared Haitotsu in the Guineas. Are you declaring it in the Derby, Paul?
We'll have to wait.
I have to wait. I think I've got no doubt this is the best horse, but for this horse to win this race, it basically has to defy every bit of logic I've ever been taught or anything I have ever sort of used in racing to win a horse coming off a fast track PR run mile. It was a good win, don't get me wrong, first up there and defied a bit of history to do that. But to then jump to 2,400 on a bottomless track, something it's never seen, to be taking short odds is impossible for me. Trying to find something to beat it with confidence is also nearly impossible. Regal Lines had a really long, tough prep. Certainly was the run the other day of a horse that's going to relish the Derby trip and probably keeps on whacking here. And that may be enough to win this race, but seems short enough as well. Looking for that. The ride on Benno the other day, like the more you look at it, it was one of the weirdest, quietest rides of all time. He can probably improve. And then down to horses like War Eternal and Morris is my dad. But I think it's a genuine lottery. I honestly I think anything can win the race, just simply because they've got to handle the distance and surface, and there's so many horses coming off different and weird and strange setups. I really think it's a lottery.
What do you think, Jason?
On a good track, High Totsu is odds on for me, but it's not. It's the furthest thing from a good track. Look, a Maurice on a 10 and a Derby distance, it does concern me. Big striding horse. It's clearly the best horse in the race. And it's a very, very weak bunch of other horses. I went looking really, really hard. Allegron in the VRC Derby was absolutely enormous. It was basically 3 wide the trip. It sprinted at the top of the straight, and Hitotsu, which had a nice suck run, convincingly beat it, but it was huge. But the prep here, 1,400, 1,600 to 25, it's unstable. I think the wet will be okay. Teofilo, I can't remember the mare, but when I looked at it, I was a Medaglia d'Oro mare, I think. So, look, I think it's a chance. Benno, it was a barrier trial the other day. I saw that ride. They didn't want to gut it for this race, and it ran home really, really well. And then, Uncle Muzz, J-Mac, Wet, Regal Lion is right in this on its run, but I thought Benno was as good as it on Monday. So not an enormous amount of clarity. If something won at 80s and just kept plugging away, you'd say, yeah, but I have no idea who that is. I won't be investing heavily on the race. I'll definitely be taking a quaddie on Saturday, and I'll be putting in Allegron, Benno, Regal Lion in a Totsu, and hoping those two at longer odds get up. And if something blows me out, so be it.
For me, the track is the thing that throws me on this race. The 28 days off Hitotsu. Yes, I did declare it last time, and it was a good winner. On form, I'd say it's a great chance again, but 28 days off, testing track, they're things that worry me. So just purely from a price point of view, I've got it marked, at around about the market price. I think it's a fair price, but there's a lot of concerns there that sort of make betting a problem. What has Forgot You Do? Blinkers coming off might help hit. Castlereagh Kid, blinkers come off it. I'm not saying it couldn't win. I think Character's a chance. I think Benno's a definite chance. Regal Line is the one I'm against at the price, and it's purely just a price play. So for me, I don't know if I'm going to be betting in the race. And depending on how the day's shaping up, I might even, and depending on what price Regal Line is, I might even have a small lay against it. So very hard for me, this one.
Yeah, the other one is this Castlereagh Kid. Now, it's like a draft horse, and it might suit a draft horse this race. So depending on the conditions, Ollie's nearly gone on horses that are hard going and front runners. His wrists, he seems to be having problems with his wrists for mine. Nash goes on here. I think they'll clearly go forward. It's never untested on the wet. Maybe it's another one that could keep going in the conditions. So
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, another one to potentially think of. I think the Nash booking will really help it. But it's going, looking at the conditions at the moment, this could just be, who knows with the conditions and if it's a real slog.
And I've got that Forgot You run in the back of my head too when it ran in the Derby, wasn't it?
Didn't stay the trip, did it?
It didn't seem to stay the trip. So
No.
that's what worries me about it. So
It's
there's
a
a few
sick
queries
race where
around
you
those
want to
tracks.
find value, but it's hard, isn't it?
Well, it's
Yeah.
hard, but so I suppose if you hold a gun at my head, I'm going to say horses like I'd probably be if you want to have a bet here, Castle Road Kid, Benno, and maybe Save on the favourite, but you'd be betting very small, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on to the TJ Smith over 1,200 metres.
Shelby 66, 6-4, no. 280 Nature Strip, Eduardo 370, Shelby 66 off the map into $6. Mars Crusader $10, Palili 13, 15 Rockin' Horse, Overpass 16, 21 Bellucci Babe 41, Count to Ruby 71, Rule of Laws Zatori $91.
Who wants to go first? Jason.
I'll go first. I like this race a lot. I still can't take the Shelby 66 seriously, and I'm not thinking, I just can't. Credit to them. Congratulations to the owners. It's great for racing, blah, 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 but I'm punting. And sorry, $5.50 in a TJ, I'm just completely penning it. Nature Strip's drawing the perfect gate here for it. From 11, he doesn't want pressure on the outside. We know that. Look at the Everest replay, and it'll be somewhat similar. He'll just come across. Nash will want to make sure Eduardo runs out the 12, so he won't get in a speed battle. It will sit off it. I don't know if I want to say best bet of the day here in these conditions, but I am absolutely all over Mars Crusader here. I can't believe the price. Looking at my ratings to win data here, third up, it's peaked. Like last two preps, it's just jumped out of the ground third up. I mentioned it in the Lightning Stakes preview we did. I'm adamant they only took it for Melbourne to avoid the wet tracks and not gut it. This is, I reckon, after the Everest, when it bombed the start, flew home, one more stride, it wins. This has always been the target for this stable. I think it's going to be primed on the day. Don't love one, but I think a lot of these will be going backwards. He'll find the right spot. Pike, Berry off for Pike is a big tick. And it's run on a 10.5 before, according to ratings to win track conditions. They went 5 below out to the 6 and ran 10 lengths fast home. It just got beat by Varda. Varda was flying then. It just shows it gets through the conditions. It can still accelerate through it. Each way, moral, all over this horse. Very, very confident. It runs top 3 and I think it'll win.
John.
I'm pretty close, but I think it's, like the each way play, absolutely. I think it's all about whether Nature Strip improves 10 lengths off its last run, which the stable is certainly capable of doing. If the Nature Strip of last start doesn't show up, I think it's I think you found the right one there in Mars Crusader. I think Eduardo down on the inside is probably a bit vulnerable here. Will cop some pressure, and I'd much rather be backing Mars Crusader pitching runs up the inside and at $9.50 than $3.70 Eduardo, and just a matter of whether it can catch Nature Strip on the day. But he was very plain last start, and he really needs to lift. But the stable certainly capable of doing it.
So I'm in the Nature Strip camp. I've got it clearly on top, and I think it's the deserved favourite. Obviously, Eduardo's some sort of chance as well. I'll be backing Nature Strip. I think overpasses over the odds. That's just the way I do things. Mars Crusader, I remember tipping it in the Everest and the Herald and seeing it just get beat there, and was a bit disappointing. So I do concede it's got a chance. I can't get it as short as the market at the moment, but I do concede it's some sort of chance in the race. And I'm really, really against Shelby 66 this week. There's something in its profile that is a very big negative for betting returns. So I'm against it. I'll be opposing it. I may not lay it, but I certainly don't want to be betting on it or saving on it. So, and I even think Paul Alley, depending on how they ride it, would be some sort of chance in this race. So for me, I'm going to be backing Nature Strip and making it a good winner. I'll make sure I don't lose on Paul Alley. I'll be making Overpass some sort of a winner, and I think that's how I'm going to play the race.
Can't knock Overpass either. I think it should have won last start. a little bit of a momentum horse, and once he got blocked a couple of times, he was always going to struggle to pick him up. And if he gets that jet stream run behind him, which he looks like he's going to get, I can't knock that. Whatever it is, I think you'll probably get a little bit better to him. They might forget about overpassing this race.
Yeah, could do. Okay, let's move on to the last race on our coverage here, the Donny. What have we got here, John?
Huge field. $4.60 Forbidden Love, $5 I'm Thunderstruck, $8.50 Converge, 15 Ellsberg, 15 Private Eye, 16 Mr. Brightside, 17 Ice Bar, 17 Lighthouse, 18 Banker's Choice, 19 Just Folk, 26 Brutality, 26 Inspirational Girl, 26 Kiss on All Four Cheeks, 26 Law of Indices, very bunch market, 31 Cascadian, 41 Dalasan, and 50s plus the rest. And My Little Smoky down the bottom with the mighty Kathy O'Hara, $81 Skylab, and I'm sure you'll get better.
So I might kick off here.
You go first.
Why not? I'm Thunderstruck Forbidden Love. I think they're both genuine chances. The market obviously says so. They do come up on the ratings. There are some question marks around both of them. I don't think they're any value currently. I think you could probably, say that they may be around about the fair price, but certainly not one that you'd be wanting to back. I think Ellsberg's represents good value here. I think it can lead. There's not a lot of pace in the race on paver. I do rate Just Folk as some sort of blowout in the race. I tipped it last time, I think, on memory, as well as one of the chances, and it got away with it. Even horses like Mr. Brightside aren't totally hopeless. I think Banker's Choice is one that can definitely improve and may have been set for the race. Obviously it's 22nd emergency, isn't it? Banker's Choice.
It's first emergency, but Hungry Heart will be scratched, so it's almost guaranteed to get a run.
It'll probably get a run. Look, there's a horse in the race. It probably won't get a run, King Magnus, but I'd be definitely throwing something on it at 100 to 1. And there's even other horses like roughies like Kiku that aren't hopeless either. And so it's pretty hard to sort of play the race. But for me, I'll be backing Ellsberg definitely, and definitely having something on Just Spoke, Mr. Brightside, and Banker's Choice. But once again, small book. The horse I'm really against here is Converge. I just can't see why it's 7 or 8 to 1 in this field off its last run.
Agree.
JW.
I agree 100% with Converge. I think that the two at top in the market are certainly well enough found they can win. I'm just loving what Joe Pride's doing with his horses at the moment. Every time they're well backed and set up and the blinkers go on, they're charging through the line. So having to take Private Eye and Brutality, not as much, but not surprised if it improves significantly. It doesn't look to be going as well, whereas Private Eye certainly looks to be going okay, got a bit of a rough ride. And Reggie Bayless is not one of mine, but this horse is pretty much set and forget. He'll get back and he'll run home. So I think he'll run well at 20 to 1. I'm scared of Law of Indices. I thought it improved enough last start to take it seriously at odds. And so I think Skylab doesn't run a strong 2000. I think he's going well enough, and a testing mile. He just might be, pinching runs and can slog through the going if they run along here, which doesn't look likely. I agree. Ellsberg does look to control the tempo. The camp's really keen there, and Tim to be wanting. I think he's got a half over, but he's keen to ride at 52. So to me that shows that he thinks he can certainly win the race, and that's always a positive when the jockey's up and about. So. I think it's a really open race, but I think I like Private Eye to be finishing off strongly. Scared I'll be having something on Law of Indices and Skylab, all big prices.
If you don't love the Doncaster, you don't love racing or punting. It's just such a sensational race year in, year out, and no difference here. So this horse went up the wrong price, and I'd admit now, not that keen at the price. I think it's a little bit unders, but Mr. Brightside was $34 in some places, an extraordinary price. 1-7 on the trot, went to the Cantala, ran fourth, but got literally beat a nose. It was enormous there. But this Doncaster's been a target race for it. If anyone hasn't seen it, go back. and watched the All-Star Mile run. It was squeezed out earlier from 2, had no luck in the straight, was every bit as good a run as I'm Thunderstruck, and meets at 5 kilos better here. So if you're taking a line through the fave, the only way this horse isn't in the finish is if it just doesn't handle the track. That's the only possible for me. 21, I don't think that'll be an issue later in the day. Often Doncaster horses are coming down the middle. Out and out miler, out and out handicapper. Love this horse. And invested heavily on it. But the other one all the things the guys have said, I haven't got a load to add, but the horse they haven't mentioned, which clearly they're against, is Lighthouse. If you go back and watch her win in the Coolmore, the last 200 there, she was just absolutely flying through that ground, and has been proven on a real bold track in Melbourne as well. Dropped 3 kilos here. D Lane on again, 23 alike. Beat Hinged, who's gone out and won, or just got beaten the Group 1 on Monday. Form behind Forbidden Love there, Private Eye, like all that all stacks up. So in terms of the ground, and she's just been consistent. She's just been sensational. Hasn't missed the top 2 pretty much since she's been in Oz, or she hasn't in 8 starts. So I think she's a huge chance as well. But not, Private Eye, that Epsom win was enormous. Again, sort of outside gate, I'm not against. Just Folk on the minimum. It's flying this prep. Loves unbeaten on the heavy. It's a nice horse. They're probably the ones for me. So I'm Mr. Brightside and Lighthouse are my 2 primaries, and I won't lose on Private Eye. And I'm Thunderstruck, my Brainham.
Best bets, guys. Anyone?
Mars Crusader each way for me. I think I can't see it missing the top 3, and I think at that price, you still win if it runs a place, but I think it's going to be right in the finish.
I'll go with that same rate. I agree with you. That's either the best play, and you either back it and save on Nature Strip or back it each way. It just probably would depend on how severe if there's an on-pace bias, I might save and back rather than back it each way. But I think that's the easiest betting race of the day. Of the races we covered, certainly.
5 for me.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for that. We'll see you all on Monday for the review of the program, and
hopefully we see you on Monday.
Well, yeah, depending on what they do this week. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully we can continue our run and you get some gold out of this, guys. So thanks.
Hopefully they don't call them off.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Cheers.